everybody. This is Katya Woods. I am the moderator for Team AAFCA. Today, we have the honor of speaking with the cast of Spinning Gold. Let me introduce you to our members. First, we have Aisha Mohammed out of Philadelphia, Janine Kavani out of VA, Virginia Beach, Nancy Green, who's coming to us from Baltimore. We then go to Carolyn Hines, who is in Toronto, Dana Abercrombie, who is in New York, Ruben Peralta Regaud, who is in Miami, Reggie Ponder, who's coming to you from Chi-Town, and I myself am coming to you also from the 215 Philadelphia.
Memories are complicated. We remember what we want to remember. And we forget what we need to forget. But how do you expect me to tell you how all that really happened? Because every single bit of it was true.
It was the greatest time of our lives.
We were launching Casablanca Records. The artists worked with us, not for us. They were family.
Kiss. The Isley Brothers, Donna Summer, Bill Withers, Parliament, Gladys Knight.
My people from Georgia, they would never take a plane to Houston.
Let's go to Georgia. Give me some peaches.
You really spent all the $3 million Warner's gave you as an advance.
Actually, I spent $4 million. Just another day at the office. They love them when they see them. Why the hell can we get them to buy their records?
Donna's not selling anywhere?
I believed in Donna, and I knew what she could be.
You're going head-to-head with Berry Gordy himself.
This may be Casablanca's last chance.
Lift off. Let's go.
Every single bit of it. True story.
Hi guys, my name is Ruben Peralta from Coca-Cola.net and live in Miami. My first question, when I was doing my research about the film, I noticed that it took 25 years to make this project. Why do you think that it took that long in an industry that Hollywood, like Hollywood, that adore to tell these kind of stories?
Who's that? You want me to take that?
Well, yeah, you're the only one that can responsibly answer that.
There you go. So it's actually 24 years, but it feels like 25. So I think they're all hard. I think it doesn't matter that it's a music biopic, doesn't matter what genre. I think these things are hard. At the very beginning, I will say the first 10 years, I think I wasn't sure what version of the story I wanted to make or how best to grapple with, such an extraordinary life and so many important moments in it. But over the years, there were different directors, and I wasn't always gonna direct it myself. Many different drafts of the script, different cast iterations, and so ultimately, these things all take a remarkable amount of perseverance. And then that perseverance has to meet that remarkable connective tissue with a couple, really special people. And when all that happens, then it can happen. But they're just really hard. And so I think it took the amount of time it needed to take to get this group of people to tell this story this way.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. Aisha Mohammed with Black People Watch. We see Neil in this movie struggle so much with finances and everything else, trying to get his team together. I was just wondering how some of you guys could relate to his struggle, like, really trying to live out his dream and going broke and not having the money and still trying to hang in there when times are hard and times are tough and everybody's telling you to give up. How did you guys relate to the storyline in this movie?
I know I can speak to that for sure. From 2009, deciding to go on the road by myself with my sister, who didn't have a job at the time. And she took her jewelry and sold it. So we had gas money to get up to New York and New Jersey to do the Chitlin circuit. And I remember my parents saying, okay, we're going to let you hit the road with your sister, do what you do this year. And if it doesn't work out, you got to come back. You got to go back to school. You got to do everything. We persevered. We kept going. It worked out. And then somehow the YouTube videos, they started going viral. I kept staying on the road with her. And then come that January 2010, that's when I had a holding deal with NBC off of off of an audition I did. I had another deal that was coming through with Fox, and then I got the SNL deal. So it was like everything worked out. So that is the narrative of the folks in this story. It's kind of, it's fake it till you make it. It's believe in yourself until you do get to where you need to get to, and don't quit at 11:59, because at 12 o'clock, that could be your moment. I could definitely say that from my side. You know what I mean? Now the rest of these beautiful people here, you know, I don't know what, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have quite as harrowing a story as that. Mine was just, you know, I grew up without any money as a kid, and I just kept pushing until I got a scholarship to go to a school to try to be an actor, which nobody in my family or in my circle had any inclination that was something anybody could do. And you know, got lucky. I very early on in my career, I was at a store and I found this giant sign that says "Fake it till you make it," and I had it over my bed for like 10 years, because that's basically what you got to do. I mean, you have to convince people, and that's what Neil does in the movie. He just charms them into sort of following him and believing him, and even if he does not have the means to make what, you know, they think needs to happen, he's gonna figure it out, or, you know, die trying.
I know I agree with Jeremy, with Neil. It's like, what you have to have a level of confidence to know who you are and what you believe in. You have to have a vision. And that's what I feel Neil had, a vision for what he wanted. And I'm being from New Orleans and raised in Oakland, California. We're pretty resilient people. I mean, we're used to things falling apart all the time and picking it back up and making it into something even better than it was. So for me, being told you're not good enough to be in this business on my first tryout, and 20 something years later, I'm still here, you know, and telling different stories and other people's stories. So Neil, watching, I can totally relate to having this confidence, and inside you got a vision and you have to finish it. That's powerful to me. And I love that character. Well, Tim's father for doing that is really cool. And also Gladys, you know, knowing her family, she knew her position. I'm gonna take care of my brothers and my family and make this happen by any means necessary. And that's it for me.
Absolutely. I think on my side, just coming from being a singer songwriter, you know, every day you show up not knowing if you're going to write the next song that's going to change your life. And also working since I was 9 years old. And it's just like, okay, I think all of us have a very similar thing when you get into this business. It's like, okay, they say it happens once in a lifetime for a very good reason when it comes to being in entertainment. So, you know, being able to look to my left and right with this particular cast and see that everybody has a very interesting way on how they succeeded in it and did it their way. It's also what's so inspiring about it all.
Hi, everyone. Carolyn from So Here's What Happened and Carolyn Talks podcast. Thank you so much for doing this. This film taught me a lot about the history of disco in particular and rock and roll that I didn't know. But one of the themes in this film that you were discussing is dreams and believing in yourself. But I think it's also about having people who believe in you, you know, people who really stand in your corner. So for each of you, I want all of you to answer, like, who are the people that stood in your corner when other people were saying, like, you're thinking way outside the box and you're just like, for me, there is no boss. I'm not going to confine myself as a performer and as an entertainer. So I want each of you to talk about the people who inspired you and stood by you.
Yeah, I mean, I think in this business, at least for me, the first person you have to have stand by you is you. Because, I mean, you're going to get told no and rejected countless times in any medium that you're in. And a lot of people, they give up, you know, because they can't take it. It's hard on your soul. It's hard on your ego. And so you have to believe first and foremost in yourself. So, I mean, I had lots of other people that believed in me, but that was the one that was always the hardest for me, because I knew I had something, and no matter what other people said, like I wasn't ever really sure until I, was able to, and I still have moments, I'm not really sure, but it's you have to be in your own corner.
Yeah, just to echo that, I mean, I think that's such an important statement about believing in yourself, because you have to be the one who wakes up every morning and pushes that dream forward. But I love that you sort of captured that about the film, because it is so much about people believing in one another, and that power of that connectivity is magic. And so, even in this group, the fact that we actually had a very challenging struggle, even once we started making the film, we had to do it before and after COVID, and just the fact that we had this extraordinary cast continue to believe in me and in each other and what we were doing was essential for us to get where we were. So I think, yeah, you have to start with yourself, and then you gotta have those people that just absolutely want to share that dream with each other and for you. And people have to want that for you sometimes as much as you want for yourself.
Well, I'm just grateful that someone like Tim and his family believed in me in my other version of storytelling as an actor. And so people see me one way and they saw me different and said, you belong over here too. This is a part of who you are as well. And I'm thinking, but it's Gladys Knight, you know what I mean? So either way, someone believed more than me. That helps too, but it's always been my mother for me, my legacy, but also it comes out of nowhere. So I know it's a spiritual thing. People are supposed to come in your life for a reason, out of nowhere. Like I'm doing one thing and then this came out of nowhere. So that's how it happens. But I always believe I can do any part of my storytelling, but it just helps when there's someone else who has a vision, and like Tim and his family saying, I need you over here too. So that means everything. But my mom is the biggest cheerleader. It starts at home for me.
I would echo and say the same thing. A strong support system in the home. My mother and my father and my sister, for sure, my sister's a manager. But also the people that don't believe in you as well, you kind of want to do it to prove them wrong. And it doesn't matter if you put it out there into the universe and you say something is going to happen.
Come on, Jake. Tell 'em.
Yeah, you better take it to the haters.
You keep believing in it no matter what somebody tells you that they think you are. People are always so quick to try to put you into some type of box where they're comfortable in viewing you. And it's like, no, I live outside of that. And the people that believe in me, what we're going to do is, once this happens, we're all going to celebrate together because we saw the vision. But thank you for not believing in me and giving me the fire, because that allowed me to persevere through everything, especially when I wanted to quit. I'm like, nah, well, Jamal in Virginia was talking smack, so I've got to make sure that I keep going so that when I see him, I'm like, remember you said I couldn't do it? Well, guess what? We all did it together. And I had a belief system of people that did ride with me. And those are the folks I do it for. So it's the people that positively influence you, and it's the people on the negative outskirts as well. And I know Neil dealt with so much adversity when he was trying to get deals put through. But he had people like Cecil Holmes to help him out. He had the artists that believed in him that were saying, listen, whatever you're doing, we know it's going to work out somehow, so we're riding with you. And you need people like that. A strong ride or die system of folks that are going to see it out to the end. And that's what Casablanca and Buddha Records was, straight up.
Absolutely. Come on.
I don't know what to say afterwards.
Yes, hello. My question is for Jay Farrell. What's really interesting is I love the friendship between Neil and Cecil, but there are moments when it's very easy to walk away, especially you're in debt. The company is in debt. The mob is after everyone. So I was wondering, what is it that Cecil sees, kind of what you see in each other, that kind of keeps that bond, and from him not walking?
Well, it was the belief in somehow things were going to work out, no matter how dreary they looked, they were going to work out. And you know, Cecil was by that man's side until that pivotal moment in the film where it seemed like they were about to lose everything, where he said, listen, if this goes down, bro, I don't have anything. Like I poured into it and I followed you this far, but you have got to give me some type of reality-based thing. You have to give me something substantive because it seems like I'm just losing everything. So I think the friendship of those two guys during that tension, that helped Cecil stay in there with him, even though it didn't seem like there was any type of light at the end of the tunnel. So it was that friendship. It was that I know this doesn't seem like it's going to work out, but with you, somehow this will work out. Somehow it's got to work out somehow. And I believe in you, and I'm riding with you because of that. So I think it was their friendship that allowed him to get through that storm with him during that time. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Did I answer it? I thought I answered the question.
Yes, you answered.
All right, cool, man. I don't, you know what I'm saying? You just don't know. All right, man. All right, cool. Saying.
Hello, this is Janine Coveney from the Words on Flicks show podcast. And I'm a former editor at Billboard magazine. I was an R&B music editor. So I'm interested in the music. I lived during the height of the Casablanca era. Those were my jams, okay? So it's always interesting when you have a biopic. Trying to depict real life figures is never easy because you risk alienating the fans with your casting choices. So Tim, what was your approach to casting, and for the cast, how difficult was it for you to embody, people that a lot of people knew?
Thanks for that question. I mean, there were two things that we never wavered from the 23 years of thinking about it. I was never trying to do mimicry. I never was looking at how someone looked or spoke or the inflection in their voice. I was looking at the essence of these remarkable people, and that was it. I mean, I never wavered from that for 1 second. I wanted to cast people that felt like these people. But what beautifully went hand in hand with that is I also didn't want to compete with Bill Withers' master of Lean on Me. I mean, you can't compete with that. I didn't want to ever have to put the movie up to that test of, well, did it ultimately get to that master? I thought we had heard that master. I own that master. We all, to some degree, can stream that master. I was fascinated by the first drafts of music history. I wanted to know what it sounded like the first time Bill Withers sang Lean on Me, the first time Gladys thought of it should be a train and not a plane. That's what I wanted to explore. And once we made that commitment, if you see in the way we structured the architecture of the film, all of the music happens before it becomes public facing. So we really get to see the artists find it themselves, shape it themselves in different venues that aren't what the masters ultimately should sound like. And I thought that provided enormous freedom then for our cast to make it their own unabashedly, which to me was essential and core to the film.
Tyler, was that the same for you? Were there challenges in approaching Donna?
Of course, you always want to find that middle ground, and we had those conversations like, okay, so as an actress, I know that I'm playing a person, but what is it that we're capturing? And Tim just perfectly summed it up. And it's like, okay, as a songwriter and as an artist, I understand that what you first come up with and the way that you sing something when you first sing it, or when you're figuring out, is very different than when millions of people hear it. And it was really awesome just to be able to just pay respects to it. It's not about sounding the exact same or anything like that. It's how do I tell this story the best? Because that's what these fans haven't seen. They haven't seen the story behind the songs. They've heard the songs, and I was really happy to be able to just, figure out how to play that delicate. It's a very, very delicate thing. But I think that, with the direction choices and, with the musical choices as well, we were able to find a middle ground.
I think to echo what you were saying, Tyler, and what you said, Tim, about finding the essence of the character, and it's not necessarily sounding just like the person or looking just like the person. Is, for instance, I mean, usually I would have something to work with. I could look at something, I could listen, I could absorb it like that. But Tim told me that Cecil Holmes was essentially, he was the backbone. He was the right-hand man to Neil Bogart. So anything that he wanted to do, Cecil was right there for him. And playing that, you take that from real life experiences. You think about the ride or dies that you have in your life, and you think about what you wouldn't allow, how you would protect them, how much the sense of urgency it is to make sure that person is safe and comfortable through everything. So I think that's where a lot, at least for me, from my character, that's where I played it from. Because it's not an impression, it's an embodiment of an essence of a person. So yeah.
Awesome, cool. Thank you so much. I think you guys did a great job, and I'm very critical of music. I loved the music in this. I loved how it was redone. So congrats.
Yay, awesome.
Hi all, this is Reggie Ponder, the Real Critic out of Chicago, 91.1 FM, Vocalo Radio. And my question is that since this is about the music, the first things for you, Tim, is this seems like a love letter to your dad, but also a love letter to the sound. And then for the cast, I like for you to comment on that. And then for the cast, what you know about this music? Y'all so young, you don't know about this music. So I'd like to hear what y'all know about this music.
Well, thank you for that question. And yes, it of course is a love letter to my father, also my mother and my stepmother, my aunts and uncles, but these artists were my aunts and uncles. I mean, I grew up with Donna Summer's daughter was my closest friend. We vacationed together. We ate together. Kiss was over all the time. Gladys was over all the time. These were incredibly consequential people to my life. And the love letter was not just to my father. When I set out from the beginning, it was to all of these remarkable artists and the music that they created. But for me, the experience and the life they opened my eyes up to. So it was absolutely a love letter to them all.
Mr. Ponder, you cannot love Black music and not love Gladys. Get out of here. I grew up on Gladys, like that's life. Claudine and all that. I know the music. Don't play with me. But Donna Summer, I mean, it's like, gosh, she could have sang anything she wanted, but she chose disco because she could sing country, pop, Broadway. That woman had lungs. Like, but I'm done. Opera too, because she put that in her show as well. But I'm gonna be quiet. You tell me I don't know no music.
For me, you know, growing up, I was very lucky that my parents had great taste in music. And, you know, when I decided to say, oh, I want to be involved in music in any way, shape, or form, my parents were very much so like, well, if you're going to do that, you be a student. And I'm a huge fan of being a student of your craft, whatever it is. And you have to go through the decades of people that came before you and understand, like, well, what was it about them, you know, to even build anything new? So I was definitely just lucky that I had that whole vibe of being able to say, I had parents that were like, you got to be a student of your craft.
My parents had an old school palette. So like while I was riding to school, it would be the Isley Brothers, it would be Michael Jackson, Prince, it would be Donna Summers, basically everything that this guy Bobby J used to play. Who's on the line? It's Bobby J. I don't know if you remember Bobby J, but he played all of the old school jams. And I wasn't really allowed to listen to a lot of the contemporary tracks. Like I didn't listen to my first rap album until like 2000. Like it was Ludacris back for the first time. That was my first album that I had. Besides that, if it wasn't Al Green or something like that, it won't play in our house. So I knew from my peoples, you know, saying.
Well, I think it's kind of apparent in all these other answers that like, and I knew most of this music. I can't say I knew every single thing that we put in the film, but like this music has stood the test of time. And, you know, great music is going to continue to be great music no matter when it was made. And you know, Taylor's always said this a lot of times when we talk, that music is cyclical. You know, you come back and then suddenly the 80s are back in, and then the 70s are back in, and like we are all constantly borrowing from our, you know, and you know, the people that came before us, and the only way to know that is to know the music. And yeah, I mean, it's I hear it everywhere all the time, still to this day. So yeah, I think he really created something really special with Casablanca and bringing these artists to the world.
Okay. I'm sorry. my bad. Thank you for your answer. I appreciate it.
Hi, this is Nancy Green with Film Critique. And one of the things that's fascinating to me when I watch movies like this is the real history behind everybody. Now, of course, like with Gladys Knight and with Donna Summer, we know a lot about them. But when I looked up like Cecil and Neil, I really couldn't find a lot about their personal lives. So can you talk a bit about that and what it was like trying to kind of bring their personalities and everything forward when you're dealing with like the personal aspects there, and there's not a lot of history out there about it?
Sure, and I think that was one of the joys of making this particular kind of film, is that there are people that are lost to history, even though they were so consequential in creating it. And I think Neil, my dad, was one of them, and I think Cecil was one of them, and I think Buck and Larry Harris and these other very important people in this world. There would be no Gladys, there would be no Donna, to the extent they certainly were remarkable artists, but they all met at one moment, and together all of these people created this sort of magic. So the opportunity to tell those stories, the ones that got lost to history, was a real blessing. And that just came truly from an enormous amount of research. Obviously, I grew up with them, so I knew them so dearly. Cecil is still with us. We unfortunately lost Larry and Buck in the last few years. But I knew all these people so intimately, and the ability to take what they meant to me and what I think they meant to music, and create an opportunity for other people to get to, even though just a little bit, was a remarkable opportunity.
Yeah, and we got to hang out with Joyce a lot on set too, because she's still like very present. So like we got a little bit of a taste of some of the real people, but you know, for me, like there's not, I mean, you know, Neil died back in the early 80s, and fortunately for us, he left behind a carbon copy of himself in Timothy Bogart. And I very quickly realized, like, oh, you are your father's son. So like, I definitely borrowed a lot of the stuff that I put in the movie. You know, I tailored it slightly differently, but yeah, I mean, we were really lucky to have family there to pull from as well. So that was certainly helpful for me.
I would definitely say talking to Joy was pretty. She gave good insight, but Timothy was the encyclopedia of Casablanca. Buddha. He knew exactly the interactions that his father had with all of these artists. He knew about the relationships in depth and detail. So he really just made you comfortable when you were playing a character that, you know, there wasn't a lot on. You know, you were covered. You would make sure. And look, I'm critical of my impression too. I was asking if I was like, is it good? They're like, well, you're adding a lot more excitement, but it's still good. I was like, all right, cool, whatever. Okay.
We made it our own, you know, and he gave us the freedom to do that, to like to sort of reimagine these characters while you know, holding on to their essence.
Nice. Thank you. Well, thank you for bringing that history forward, because these are like important times, and it's really nice to have that record there. So
yeah.
Hi everyone, Katya Woods, Couple Soul Show in the Philadelphia Tribune. As another 70s baby, even though we look 12, Reggie and I. I too started covering music. This was definitely my childhood, this music in the backdrop, and adore Donna Summer. So my question is for you, Jeremy. You know, you're playing this person, this icon, and a lot of us do know a lot about Neil and this iconic label. Other than using Tim as a source, how did you prepare? Because it's really hard when you prepare someone that people have interacted with, and although you have Tim's blessing, it's like Janine said, you know, everybody has like this vision and it's hard, especially when it's an icon. So what did you do? And of course, it was nice to hear you sing again, because you definitely, the mic is on with you. So talk a little bit about your preparation.
Yeah, you know, it's funny because there was a little bit of video of Neil, and so like I was able to kind of see how he talked and kind of feel his vibe, and you know, like Tim said, he spent so much time doing research, and he just gave us all this research. I mean, there were like 100-page PDFs of interviews with everybody from his life, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna read all this. And but at the end of the day, you know, it was really just a starting point, you know, and we had the script to work off, and we had each other to work off of, and he let us play. And I never felt the pressure to do an impression or the pressure to like get this thing exactly in, you know, tell the story in this perfect sort of way. And because these were imperfect people, and the story happened so long ago that, you know, their memories might not be exactly how things really happen, and we really play with that a lot in the film too. So it gave us license to create our own versions of that, you know. At the same time, you know, still researching all the things that he did and who he was. But and then, you know, Tim would leave the tape rolling, and we'd go for like 3 to 5 minutes and just make stuff up. I mean, let us see, our whole scene was basically improvised. And it was really magical to find those characters and sort of create them while at the same time paying homage to like who these people really were, and tell the story in that way. Because as the character says in the movie, it's more fun if you can play and not have to feel like you have these very strict boundaries that you have to maintain.
Just to add, that kind of authenticity was so important to me from the beginning, but I was also blessed with 2 songwriters, 2 artists who understand what creating art looks like and feels like. So to be able to put them in a moment that Gladys went through to create this extraordinary song, and just let these 2 people who do that every day with their lives, bring them to the table as well. That was the only way to do it. It would have been foolish of me to not embrace the gifts that they have.
Absolutely.
I met Jeremy on the set.
We did. I met you on set. I was like,
On set,
I guess we're doing it. But it makes sense because our characters never met before.
That's
never.
right.
Yeah,
great.
so it was perfect.
Hi, everybody. I'm Gil Robertson, president of the African American Film Critics Association. And Timothy, yes, I can remember, I'm a 60s baby, late 60s baby, and vividly recall in the 80s, driving down Sunset with my brother. I'm from LA. And you would go around the curve, and it was Casablanca. And man, that was really that was when most people think of LA, I think they think of that period, because it really sort of personified the identity of the city in a lot of ways, and Hollywood and Sunset Boulevard. But at any rate, I digress. On behalf of the world's largest group of Black film and TV critics, we thank you for your time today. We really love this movie, and we hope you enjoyed watching this edition of AAFCA Roundtables. Have a great day.
Thank you.